Thanks, everyone. I'm James Wu from Digital Finance Group. I'm also the chairman of ETC Labs. And today my topic is about the cryptocurrency versus the traditional finance industry. And to me, cryptocurrency is kind of new economy for the futures. There are kind of like five aspects, which I think is kind of the key advantages of cryptocurrency. The first is about smart money. The second is about like international currency. Third is about decentralization. The fourth is about security and privacy. Fifth is about security token. Let's take the first one, the smart money. First, I think cryptocurrency is kind of like a transfer smart. Based on the utility of the smart contract, we can kind of like set a due date or like a strict price or other conditions to trigger the smart contract, and with that the currency can be transferred automatically, and it cannot be reversed, which is better than fiat. And the second, I think also the cryptocurrency is kind of like a utility smart. You can use a cryptocurrency. It can be served as a digital money, and also you can use it to do the reward to the developers, and also you can do this to do the fundraising. So there are a lot of utility which fiat can be applied, and the cryptocurrency can do that too. The second one is kind of like an international currency. As everyone knows, kind of a cryptocurrency is kind of like widely used around almost like every country. But about fiat, usually like a government issued currency is mainly used in its own country, and especially for those like kind of like country with capital controls. So cryptocurrency is kind of a worldwide use. If we take some data, it's like around $4.8 trillion has been transacted in the foreign exchange market daily, and according to the World Bank statistic, about the remittance market, and it's about like around $642 billion in this year, and last year the number is $613 billion in remittance market, and it's also the number of the remittance goes up each year. And also, according to the World Bank estimations, we can see that the overall amount that those kind of like people send back to their homes is about $450 billion each year. But the crazy number is like $32 billion of the money is failed to reach the recipient because of the high transaction cost of the cross-border remittance. And compared to that, cryptocurrency, which be used in the remittance market, can save a lot of time and fees. Just take a simple example of Bitcoin. Bitcoins, you can about the fees usually about $0.11, and if you take 6 blocks to confirm the transaction, they usually like an hour, maybe 17 minutes. And about Ripple is kind of instant. Kind of almost like instant and very cheap. But compared to that, the traditional bank, when you do the cross-border remittance, it usually takes you about 1 to 2 days. And if the pass is longer, it takes probably 3 to 5 days. And about the fees, if you let's say the average outgoing fees within US is $25 per transaction. If you transfer $1 million to other country, that's almost nothing to you. But if you transfer a small number like $1,000, that's 2.5%, which is super high. The third part is kind of like decentralization. I think Bitcoin and Ethereum Classic, they all designed in a way to prevent the value from depreciations in long runs. For example, Bitcoin. The supply of Bitcoin is 21 million, and supply of Ethereum Classic is around 210 and between 210 and 230 million cap. And also I think the blockchain basis cryptocurrency are not controlled by any government or banks or like central banks, and we can also benefit from that too. And with the like a centralized control of the currency or monies, that create a huge problem called like a inflation rate. And there are only probably like a 10, 15 fiat which are very stable, but others, if you want to redistribute the wealth of the people, you just add several zeros to the currency, right? So a lot of like Latin American countries or African countries do that. So the fiat, people do not trust their fiat. Even in those kind of big countries with stable fiat, the government issue way too much money each year. The first I want to say is about the security and the privacy. And people, I think, they don't want to leak their personal data or information. So privacy is super important, and we do care about the privacy a lot. And the nature of the cryptocurrency is also trustless, and it cannot be kind of like a reverse because of its nature, and we can avoid fraud also. Just take like Zcash as an example. Zcash uses a technology called zero knowledge cryptography, and it offers two different addresses. One is kind of transparent address, which is visible in the blockchain. Another is called shadowed address, which is kind of like invisible in the blockchain. People can choose the transaction to be anonymous or not, which kind of provide one more option to the people to protect their privacy. The fifth thing I want to talk is about security tokens. Security tokens are kind of like a common stock on the blockchain. They bridge the gap between the traditional finance sector and the blockchain industry. And I also think cryptocurrencies have a lot of key advantages when it serves as a security token. The first is it's a great way to raise money. If you, let's see the market like last year, totally $1.3 billion has been raised by all the blockchain related companies has raised $1.3 billion from the equity side, but they do raise $4.5 billion from the either ICOs or private sales for those token sales. And also, to be honest, when the project do the token sale, they usually when they build like a promising ecosystem, or they have the potential to build like a promising ecosystem, their valuation, the cap valuation of the whole token could be higher than equity of the company. They can also benefit from that too. Let's compare the traditional way of like IPOs to either ICO or private sale. For a standard IPO, it takes up to 4 to 6 months to finish everything. But sometimes the exchange, government vetting a lot of things, it can probably take more than a year, even like 18 months to do the IPO, which is crazy. And about the token sale, ICO, it's just very simple. Just take a month, you send all the Ethereum to the smart contract, and they will send the token back by the end of the ICO. It's pretty quick. And also, I think about the security token, it creates like a fair structure of the entity, because usually we use the foundation instead of the companies. In traditional ways, for the company, usually big like investor take the board seat, which means they have a lot of like ability to control the direction of the company. But with foundation, I mean those kind of co-founders or the right guys, they can lead the whole project to the right directions. And also, in traditional ways, the small investor, they don't have those kind of rights. They just they can stay there. But in a foundation model, they each kind of like they can have voting rights, and they can give more advice to the people who lead the project. And the last thing I want to talk is about like kind of like freedom, because IPOs need a lot of vetting, so they kind of like a monetary process, which is annoying. But the token still give you more freedom to and to do that. And somebody may say like there are a lot of money laundering, like dirty money is come to the ICO market, but I don't think so. To be honest, the reality is that the people do money laundering in the whole proportion of the kind of like ICO or other things are very, very low. Yeah, beside that, I want to share a little bit more about smart contract, because I think that's the future and the key of the cryptocurrency. Smart contracts kind of like a computer protocol intended to digitalize a facility to verify and enforce the negotiation or performance of a contract. It allows the performance. It allows the performance of crypto transaction without a third party. The transaction is also trackable and irreversible. Actually, it's kind of easy for developers to use different kind of platform to create or deploy the smart contract. For example, one can like implement a simple contract to generate different tokens, and anyone can send the coins to each other without needing like a standard way like to register a username or password. All you need is kind of like a certain key pair. And also everything related to your tokens will goes into the contract. Essentially, the contract in Solidity is the collection of the functions and the state setting in address of on the Ethereum or Ethereum Classic blockchain. Once a contract is compliant, one can use the testnet to deploy the contract, and also the contract written in smart contract specific programming languages are compliant to bytecode, which is kind of feature called Ethereum Virtual Machine (EVM). I think the dev team already talked about it yesterday. And those kind of EVM can be read and executed. And which blockchain can use smart contract? In my mind, there are a lot, but in fact, there are only two. Ethereum and Ethereum Classic. Both Ethereum and Ethereum Classic support smart contract. And to be honest, compare these two blockchains, it is more economic to use Ethereum Classic to deploy a smart contract, because when you deploy it, the fee could be less than Ethereum. And also when you do a transaction about a gas fee, you can pay less in Ethereum Classic compared to Ethereum. And about the blockchain itself, sometimes there's crowded. So when you do a transaction on Ethereum Classic, it could be a little bit quicker and faster than Ethereum. And also, most importantly, I think Ethereum Classic offers like more flexibility, which means that smart contract deploy on ETC are more convenient than other blockchains, for example, Ethereum. And also, I want to share a little bit more about my view about applications on top of these two blockchains. I think overall, the smart contract can be widely used to almost like every industry. For example, like prediction market, like the gaming industry, also like the identity or others. And there are all a lot of successful examples of those applications, like CryptoKitties last December. They are very popular, and also a lot of prediction market and identity project either on Ethereum or Ethereum Classic. They are pretty popular. They have been successful before, and also those kind of those kind of D apps are really the future, and it's kind of like built on top of like decentralized blockchain, and it's kind of like the blockchain itself don't have the power to close even 1D apps, and with all the kind of key advantages of those kind of blockchains, the app can have a bright future in there, and have a bright futures. And yeah, that's the things I want to say. Thank you very much.